أهلا بيكم في قناة دروس الأحياء للصف الثالث ثانوي. Today we're going to do a revision on the support and movement in plant and in human beings. So let's begin. We will solve the problems at the end of each chapter, and this will be a chance to revise what we have studied so far during the past lectures. The first question was, the movement in man takes place by coordination of a group of systems, which are, now we discussed this before, and we learned that movement depends on three systems. The muscle itself that's responsible for the movement, and the bone that is attached to it to exert its action upon, and the nerve that sends the commands to the muscle to contract and relax. So it's the skeletal system, the nervous system, and the muscular systems, okay? The others, yes, contribute to the movements indirectly by supplying nutrition and oxygen, but we mean the direct systems responsible for a movement to occur. Okay, the second question, the direct energy store for the muscle is, of course, all of us know it's glycogen. Don't confuse it with lactic acid. Lactic acid, this is an end product of anaerobic metabolism, anaerobic respiration in the muscle when there is no oxygen. So remember this. Muscle spasm during fatigue is due to accumulation of chemical substance called, of course you know it all, lactic acid. Okay, lactic acid is responsible for muscle fatigue and cramps even. Physiological support in plants is represented by, remember, it's physiological support, not structural. Okay, so physiological, we talked about the turgidity of plant cell. That is responsible for the support in plants. This is the physiological support. Okay, give reason why the tendrils twine around the support. Twine means the surface that's attached or in contact with the support grows slower than the outer surface. That's why it's twining. Remember that. Also, wide presence of girdles in the appendicular skeleton of animals. The girdles is to connect and support the limbs, the forelimbs and the hind limbs, and connect it to the vertebral column. Now, why the muscle fatigue? Remember, when there is repeated contractions of muscles that exceeds its demands to oxygen, so it cannot be supplied by oxygen, enough oxygen to contract. So it switches to anaerobic respiration, leading to the accumulation of lactic acid that's responsible for the muscle fatigue. Okay, why is the blood in continuous movement inside the blood vessels? Because the blood vessels themselves are smooth muscles, and they are in continuous contraction and relaxation for the pulses, to travel by the blood vessels. That's why blood is in continuous movement. Okay, the sliding theory of muscle contraction is the most acceptable to explain muscle contraction. He is asking you about the mechanism of muscle contraction, how the cross-links act when the nerve impulses reaches the muscle, and the cross-links pull the actin on the myosin, and you should mention all this, what you know about the mechanism of the action of the muscle. Okay, why is the presence of enzyme Colinos trace at the neuromuscular junction? Well, to destroy the acetylcholine into choline and acetic acid, and to prepare the muscle to receive another impulse. It cannot be contracting forever. Okay? You should learn how to draw a vertebra. It's very simple, by the way. Being at the front and two transverse processes and a spine with the neural canal in the middle. It's very easy to draw. What do you know about the coccygeal region? Well, it's 4 vertebrae, incomplete vertebrae, the smallest vertebrae. They are fused together. They make one piece, okay, and face the pelvis. And they are from 30 to 33 in serial number. So they are the last vertebra in the vertebral column. The pelvic girdle. He's asking you to talk about the 2 hip bones with their components: the iliac bone, the pubic bone, the ischial bone, and they all meet in the acetabulum. You should mention all this when talking about the hip bone, which is part of the pelvic girdle. Okay. The pectoral girdle, he wants you to talk about the scapula and the clavicle. Describe the scapula as you studied, and the clavicle, and that is, it articulates with the scapula, and the clavicle itself is connected to the sternum on the axial skeleton. The scapula, the muscle bundle, means bundle of fibers. It's bundle of muscle fibers, and the bundle of muscle fibers, or fascicle, is surrounded by a membrane called the perimysium. Do not forget that. Cruciate ligaments. It's one of the ligaments in the body, and it's made of fibrous connective tissue with little, elasticity to allow for the ligament to be stretched and not torn. And it's present, the cruciate ligament, it is anterior and posterior cruciate ligaments in the knee, and they sometimes get torn, especially in football, and you all know about this. The Achilles tendon, on the other hand, is the tendon of the gastrocnemius. It attaches to the bone of the heel. Remember that. And sometimes it gets torn or gets injured. If it's completely torn, then there is need to surgery. But if it's not completely torn, it has a palliative treatment. And when the tendon Achilles gets injured, there's inability to walk, inability to raise the foot, heavy foot, okay, until the healing of the tear in the tendon. Okay, he is asking about the motor unit, which is the functional unit of the skeletal muscle. We know the motor unit is the muscle with the nerve supplying the muscle. This is the motor unit, the muscle and its nerve supply. And you know that the nerve divides into nerve fibers, into branches when it enters the muscle. Each nerve fiber supplies from 5 to 100 muscle fibers. The site of supply is called the motor endoplate, or the synapse, okay, and it has a cleft with the acetylcholine running between the nerve ending and the muscle to cause the depolarization of the muscle and contraction of the muscle. Okay, the movement is the result of coordination of the skeletal. Yes, these are the 3 systems responsible for movement to occur. I told you, the muscle with the bone that's attached to it and the joint that's the muscle is passing over, the muscle itself, and the nerve supplying the muscle coming from the brain and the spinal cord. So you must explain all this. Well, that was an easy chapter. We will start studying the hormones from the next lecture. I hope you got the maximum benefit from this lecture, and thank you very much for watching.